Hey everyone, Mr. Barnes again. Today I'm going to go over some migration stuff. So I'm going ahead in the unit and we're just going to do a bit of a rundown about what the IB wants you to know for the population unit in terms of migration. So if you look down here, population 3 is on migration. We click on it. Brings us down here and we have to discuss the causes of migration, both forced and voluntary. Now, I can tell you straight away that the main causes for a forced migration are refugees, and that's because of war and famine, things like that. And then also IDPs, which stands for internally displaced persons. So people that are displaced within their own country. So refugees typically move outside of their country, and then IDPs are displaced within their country, and those are the main forced migrations. IDPs would be like the people in Binyan who just recently had to move from their homes to shelters because of the flooding, and so they were internally displaced people. Main causes of voluntary migration are the two E's: economics, so money, and education. And basically that's it for this unit, or this subtopic here in the population migration unit. This is a pretty neat article. If you want to read this one, I've got it open here. It talks about how the Syrian war is causing people to be internally displaced, and if you read this paragraph right here, it says that the humanitarian situation in Syria has further worsened in recent weeks as fighting has spread to Damascus and to Aleppo and to other cities. 2 million people are now estimated to have been affected by the crisis, and over 1 million have been internally displaced. So again, internally displaced means that because of the war in Syria, 1 million people are not living in their homes but are still in Syria. So they've moved outside of the cities here, Damascus and Aleppo, but are still within Syria. So you can read the rest of this article. It's a pretty interesting article. You can watch the video. This guy gets shot at a little bit, so it's kind of crazy what's going on there. This video here, U.S. immigration facts, you can watch that. It's kind of fun. The major world migration flows and interaction map, that is something that I went over last year, and you don't really have to do this here. So don't worry about this. I know it's in italics, and I say that everything in italics you have to do. Don't worry about that right now. That's going to be something that we're going to have to hold off on because we don't have enough time to cover it. But here I would like you to do this. So if you would search a migration related news story for your 8 countries here, and see what's going on currently. So current events, or within the last year or so. So search these countries and try and find a news story that relates to migration for each and every one of them, and then classify them as being forced or voluntary, internal or international. So before I get down to the bottom part here, I just want to go over a few more things. The way that we classify migrations, typically we break them up into forced and voluntary, and then we talk about long distance and short distance. And then we also would discuss international and national. Can't write while I'm talking. International, I spelled that wrong. Anyways, and national. Okay, so these are the main categories that we use to talk about migrations. And when we get down here, we have to evaluate international and national and international migrations in terms of their, if you look up on the list in terms of their issues. and their impacts at the origins and destinations. Now, I'd like you to fill this in, and I'm going to give you a quick rundown about how to go about filling this chart in right here. So we're going to look at national migration within China, and there's a lot to be said because we know that over half of the global population is urban now, and it's even higher in China. And so we're going to look at rural to urban migration in China. But I just wanted to go through a couple of these things. You can watch the videos yourself. I'm not going to go through the videos, so they're pretty interesting. And then the articles down here are also really interesting, give you some good ideas for filling in this chart. But I'm just going to give you the basic stuff. So if you click on causes of migration here, the PowerPoint will pop up, and you can check out this PowerPoint. I think I might have went over it last year. It talks about human population and migration worldwide. Talks about global migration, that sort of thing. Net migration rate, you can see the Philippines is negative because there's so many OFWs moving abroad. But what I really want to talk about here is internal migration versus external migration, permanent versus temporary versus circular, so long-term, short-term, those sorts of things. Voluntary versus involuntary, I talked about these already. Employment and education, as well as refugees, and also IDPs. Okay, and then, okay, so migration models. We talked last year about push-pull factors. Push factors are things that would force someone or cause someone to leave, or would persuade someone to move away. And a pull factor is something that draws you in, something that's attractive, that will cause you to want to move to that place. So if we're talking about different push factors, we're looking at war, disease, famine, so those sorts of things. And then if we look at pull factors, we're looking at economic opportunities, family members that have already moved there that say that it's nice, education, and whatnot. So we have the simple migration model where there's a push factor from the country of origin. You migrate to the country of destination because of a pull factor. But we're going to get a little more complicated. This is Lee's migration model, and we talk about intervening obstacles where there are push-pull factors at both the country of origin and country of destination, and there are intervening obstacles that get in our way. So things like bureaucracy, military service, language, family pressure, national policy, that sort of thing. And so you can do a little bit of research on push-pull factors. I don't want to get too far into it, but you need to know that there are advantages and disadvantages, or push and pull, at both the country of origin and country of destination. And oftentimes what will happen is someone will move to an intervening place even before they move to their final destination, like moving to a city before you fly out to move to another country, that sort of thing. So that's an intervening place. Now, if we move down even further, we look at these models are interesting, and you're going to need to know these models as well, so I want you to read these two. But the Ravenstein's laws. So Ravenstein came up with some migration patterns that he observed in the 1880s, and if you want to read them, you can read them, but I'm just going to feed them to you right now. So where can I find a place to write? Why don't I just do it right at the beginning? Okay, so Ravenstein studied these laws. The first law is migrants tend to move over short distances. Okay, so most people move short distances rather than long distances. They also tend to move in stages. So from one place, not directly to another, but in stages. From rural to urban. And then also, rich people are tending to move now from urban to suburban. Okay, so next one before. Long distances. When migrants move long distances, they tend to move to cities. So long distances to cities. Okay, number 5. Urban people tend to migrate less, so urban migrate less and rural migrate more. Okay, number 6, women tend to move shorter distances than men. And then finally, number 7, migration increases with technology. So as technology increases, as planes become more accessible and become faster and more efficient, migration tends to increase. So migration increases with technology. And those are Ravenstein's laws. So you can read through the rest of the PowerPoint, but you need to know these things because it's going to help you conceptualize when we talk about international and national migration, forced and voluntary, and also short-term, long-term, those sorts of things. It will help you conceptualize exactly what's happening. Now, Ravenstein came up with these laws in 1980, and I have a student in my senior class who's actually looking at is this law still applicable? So if we're talking about TOK's connection to geography, always question, are these models that were designed, like the demographic transition model, 50 years ago, are they still applicable today? So if you can find conflicting evidence that say women actually move longer distances than men in a specific country, then yeah, by all means, bring that up. For example, I'm not sure the actual number on OFWs, but I would say that women are just as prevalent in moving long distances as men, and so yeah, make sure you always question what is being taught to you here, and question me, question the models and whatnot. Okay, if you want to take a look, we'll go back here. The internal migration PowerPoint is also really good because if you scroll down, I've got it scrolled down here. If you scroll down, it actually gives you the case study on internal migration in China. And so you can scroll through this. There's a lot of really good information. It talks about the different things that you're going to have to fill in here in terms of social impacts, economic impacts, political impacts, environmental impacts. And so this is your homework for class, actually. So you'll be watching this video for homework, and then you'll be doing this for class work. If you have any questions on this in class, just let me know, but at least that should get you started thinking about how to fill that chart in. And then finally, I want you to fill these questions in as well. So this is a 6-mark question that asks you to refer to specific examples, and obviously you're going to choose China, unless you want to talk about the Philippines if you have some good knowledge about that. Or, and as well, actually on top of that, also answer this 15-mark question where it asks you to discuss the statement migrations have greater impacts at their origin than their destination. Hold off on the Mexicans into the U.S., and also I've added the overseas Filipino workers, OFWs. Hold off on that for now until you finish this first part. And so just stick to this first part. And again, if you have any questions, let me know. And I hope this helps to clarify some things for the migration unit.